How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're talking about Pokemon news. We've got loads of events coming out in Scarlet and Violet, and also we're talking about Pokemon leaks going up to Pokemon Presents, as well as some other stuff that I think you guys will be interested in. So sit back, relax. This might be a long video, so let's get started right off the bat. First things first, guys, which is that Scarlet and Violet will be having some brand new events. As you guys can see here on the screen, there are some new events coming out in Scarlet and Violet. The first one on the right side here, as you can see, is called Challenge Fluttermane and Iron Jugglies soon. So catch a version exclusive Paradox Pokemon. So it's going to be these two. They're going to be version exclusive, available in 7-star Terra raids, I think. So from Friday, January 26th, which is about 4 days away, of 2024 at 00 UTC, to Sunday, January 28th. So it's pretty much just during the weekend, just during this coming weekend. You're going to be able to get Fluttermane, which will appear in Terra raid battles in Pokemon Scarlet. And specifically, in Iron Jugglies will be appearing in Terra raid battles in Pokemon Violet, which I guess makes sense, right? Because they're both like respective to their games, which I think is a bit unfortunate. I feel like it would have been better if they did the reverse, so that people who maybe don't have, by now you probably have them all, but for people who maybe didn't have, you know, Fluttermane in Violet could get their hands on it instead. I think that would have been a cooler event to do, but hey, I'm not Game Freak, I'm not the Pokemon company, so it is what it is. Now, these Pokemon will have various Terra types, so prepare wisely before challenging them, and try joining Terra raid battles hosted by trainers playing the other version of the game to help complete your Paradox Pokemon collection. Event schedule is Friday, January 26th, 2024 at 00 UTC to Sunday, January 28th, 2024 at 23:59 UTC. So that's pretty much the schedule. It's just a weekend. It's from Friday till the end of Sunday. The featured Pokemon, of course, in Pokemon Scarlet, 5-star Terra raid battle, which is going to be Fluttermane, and Pokemon Violet is going to be 5-star Terra raid battles against Iron Jugglies. And then it's just an explanation for what a Terra raid battle is. As for what you should use against these two, I might make a video later in this week, or maybe even tonight or tomorrow. I might make a video on what the best like Pokemon to use to beat these two is, but yeah, we'll talk about that later. Now, to basically participate, keep in mind you do need to have, I think, a Nintendo Switch. Well, actually, no, you do not need a Nintendo Switch online, connection. Instead, you just need to download the latest Pokeportal news by selecting Pokeportal from the X menu, and then Mystery Gift, then check Pokeportal news. So that pretty much just requires you to go and do the following, which is go in here and then go into like they said, go into Mystery Gift, and then once you've done that, you can just go and check Pokeportal News down here, and that's pretty much all you got to do. But yeah, that's pretty much all you got to do, and then it's going to update your game, and you're going to be able to have your hands on everything. So that's pretty much that. Now let's move on to the next thing, which is the bigger one, which is there is mass outbreaks coming, and this means, hey, shiny hunting time, baby. So catch version-exclusive Pokemon to help complete your Pokedex, and this is interesting. So get ready to track down some Pokemon you may have trouble finding from Friday, January 26th, so this is the same time frame, until the 28th, again, same time frame, at 23 UTC, mass outbreaks of Gulpin, Stunky, Squirrel, and Clauncher will be appearing throughout the Paldea region. Pokemon encountered with these special outbreaks have more likely of a chance of having the uncommon mark and the rare mark, depending on the version game they appear in. These normal version exclusive Pokemon can be encountered in both the Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet games during this event, so have fun completing your Paldea Pokedex. And again, it's going to be around the same time frame, January 26th, so this Friday, until, of course, 00 UTC Sunday, January 28th. So yeah, then of course the featured Pokemon, like we said, is Gulpin, Stunky, Squirrel, Clauncher, and that is that. And they're all going to be in Paldea, by the way, so it's not going to be anything in the DLC. This is all just Paldea options, so keep that in mind. But that pretty much summarizes that. I don't really think there's much else to say about this particular topic as of right now. I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, again, just to be able to get in here, all you gotta do is go to Mystery Gift section, go to the check Pokeportal, and you're pretty much set. You can do it as well. You don't need to have a Nintendo Switch online to do it. That pretty much summarizes that. So yeah, pretty much that's it for that part. Now let's move on to some of the more I guess, interesting parts. So first things first is this post right here on 4chan. Now, this post was posted by just an anonymous person saying what's going to be happening on Pokemon Day and the Pokemon Presents. Now, I was going to cover this last week on Friday, but I didn't because I got busy over the weekend watching Netflix. I was spending time with my girl, so I didn't have time for this. But let's get into it right now. So I've got the post here. It's also shared by none else than our boy Kuroblitz. Again, shout out to Kuroman. He's a legend, but he shared this, and basically, what does it actually have to say? Well, let's get right into it. So, Pokemon Presents on February 27th. Starts off by reminding viewers, I think I actually did cover part of this already, which is about like the mystery dungeon stuff, right? I think I've already covered a bit of this, but there is another rumor that I haven't covered, so I'm going to go back to that one in a second, or I'll cover the other one in a second, but I just want to go through this one again. But yeah, Pokemon Presents on 27th, we already know that. Starts off by reminding viewers about the Mochi Mayhem event and to make sure to play it to obtain Pekcharunt. They promote the Dragon-type Mighty for Alligator event that's going on at the time, so apparently there's going to be a Mighty... I mean, if they do announce a Feraligatr raid event, that would actually be crazy. The Scarlet and Violet section end off with them thanking us for playing the DLC and showcasing it. This presents interesting because for the first time since 2015, this year will not have a main series Pokemon game or DLC announced. Majority of presents will be talking about spin-off series or games that already exist like Pokemon Go and their new raids going on there. Pokemon Masters will have a new event featuring Drayton making his debut. Pokemon Cafe Remix gets its own little update, and the main other spin-off title will be Pokemon Unite, getting Koraidon and Miraidon as actual usable Pokemon. So that pretty much summarizes that. I don't really think I've missed much else in regards to that. I think we've pretty much gone through it, you know, perfectly. But then there's also the fact that they talk about a new game being a mystery dungeon game called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Hall of Fame, which again, I think I talked about in my previous video, talking about Entei, Raikou, Suicune will play main roles in the series, while their Paradox versions will be major antagonists at the very end. This game will be a little bit more different than previous Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, since you and your partner have played very different roles in the story and aren't always paired up. There are some parts of the game where the gameplay changes up and instead becomes a real-time battle system, which will be sick. And also, apparently, a Pokemon roguelike game will be mentioned to be in development, yet they show off a snippet of gameplay, and it's titled Pokemon Reach for the Stars. It looks like more of an animated and cartoony style than most Pokemon games. Finally, the direct ends with the mention of Pokemon TV is going to be sunset in March, and they will promote a new streaming service like Pokemon thing, and it's going to be called Pokemon Now. Again, that rumor, we kind of already covered it. There's a lot of doubts on it, but there is another rumor that I think you guys may want me to take a look at, which was this rumor made over on 4chan, and I was going to cover this a while back already, but I didn't, and it's about Legend Celebi. So what it says is, about Legend Celebi, and it was from Anonymous, and I think, of course, shout out to HTV as well for covering this first. I think he got to this last week at some point, but basically, here's what it says. About Legends Celebi. Now, Celebi will transport you 200 years back to Johto, apparently. The starters are Grass Fairy Torterra, Firefighting Incineroar, and Water Steel Greninja. Honestly, I would be totally on board for that. Like, I wouldn't even mind that. Continuing. Lugia and Ho-Oh have sacred forms. Alright, that would be pretty intriguing. So Lugia and Ho-Oh have his sacred forms. Now, I already kind of showed off some cool like concept art from none else than our boy Subarashi. He actually made some really cool art, which I can show here, of what something like that could look like, right? Like if they made a special form of it. So here it is. Here's basically what he drew as potential forms for Ho-Oh and Lugia if they had new forms, which I think is really sick. But moving back to the actual post, if we go back to where it was, because I lost track of it myself. Let's see. So I think it was... There it is. So, it says the following. Lugia and Ho-Oh have sacred forms. Again, it would make sense if this is some sort of, you know, like a Legends game. It would make total sense to have kind of some kind of special form of them. Then continuing, a dragon will complete the trio of Lugia and Ho-Oh. Grass Dragon. Now, this is interesting because actually Subarashi made a concept of what a final dragon, a third dragon, and this feels like they've just taken this from our podcast that we did. But we talked literally about a third dragon, or a third, not dragon, but a third legendary existing in Pokemon, like, you know, Johto or Gold and Silver, a third one, because yes, I know Crystal exists and Crystal has like Suicune, but Suicune's part of the legendary beast. But rather, imagine if there was a third one, because we have Gold, Silver, but we don't have Bronze, right? Bronze was the one thing that's missing. So here, he had a concept of a Pokemon, the Bird of Horizons, basically. When it awakens, Ho-Oh and Lugia will team up to take it down to save Johto. Attacks by shooting bronze nuggets, and those are the bronze nuggets you see right there. So this is a concept that none else than Subarashi actually made, and this is something we talked about, and this is, again, Cam Tendo. He actually came up with this theory. What if there is a Pokemon Bronze? What if there's a Pokemon Bronze game, which is supposed to kind of... almost serve as a kind of, what's the way to put it? I guess like a game that kind of fills in the gap in Johto, right? Fixes a lot of the Johto stuff rather than just like a regular remake and stuff. I think it would be really sick, adding in a new legendary that's the antagonist and that, you know, Ho-Oh and Lugia have to go after, and you might be like, oh, but that's going to go against the continuity. But maybe this is the legendary whose tower burnt down, etc. Really, I just think it's a cool concept. Moving on, though. Continuing down this list, this is a dragon will complete the trio of Lugia and Ho-Oh. It's going to be Grass Dragon. Now, in this case, here, I don't remember what, like, I think he actually sent me a concept. I think it's a rock flying type in terms of his, like, concept for this. Moving on, though. An Eevee will have a special evolution to Dragon type. Now, this is where you lose me. This is where I start feeling like this rumor is instantly fake. I don't know about us getting another evolution. I don't know, brother. I am not feeling it. I don't think it's going to happen anytime again. Soon, at least. I just don't feel it. I'm gonna be real. I just don't see it happening. That's just my personal opinion. Again, I could be totally off base here, but I don't see that being the case. I don't expect it. A special Red Gyarados Fire Flying type. Fire Flying for what? A special Red Gyarados? But yeah, that would just be Shiny Gyarados. Why would there be a special one? Huh. Mian Xiao will have a new evolution. Oh, I guess because this is set in the past, right? Mian Xiao, but that would also, a Red Gyarados Fire Flying would kind of break the logic of Pokemon, you know, of Johto. Like, it would break the story of Johto, because wasn't like Shiny, isn't the theory that Shinies came to be because of, you know, like, the existence? I don't know, it just feels like a little bit weird. I feel like Team Rocket needs to be involved somehow. Moving on, though. A special Red Gyarados, Mian Xiao will have a new evolution. Fighting Psychic, that's random, it's really random. And Celebi will have Ultimate Form. Again, small little rumor. The original post didn't really have much else to say either. That's pretty much it. I don't really know if there's much else to say about it. I don't know. I don't really know what to say about it. Like, I'm gonna be real. It just is what it is. Honestly, it just is what it is. At the end of the day, I'm gonna put it like this. This rumor is a bit far-fetched. It does feel a little too, like, dreamy in terms of IDs, and I think the Eevee with, like, dragon typing is the part where it loses me. It had been the first half, but then it lost me. Because the whole having, like, a trio with, like, you know, a trio legendaries with Lugia, Ho, and a final one. In this case, they called it Bronzita. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not feeling this one. I'm gonna be real. Like, I thought I felt it, but I ain't really feeling it. I'm gonna be real with y'all, because it just lost me. It honestly just lost me in the second half. Like, I first had, like, a feeling for it, but then it kind of just lost my interest, and it then kind of just started feeling like it was too fake. Especially the special dragon type evolution. I just don't expect to see new evolutions anymore. I don't know why, but it's just a feeling I have. I would love if they did a dragon type. It would be a good, like, one to have alongside, like, you know, because the last one we had was a Sylveon, which is a fairy type. It would be nice, kind of like symbolic almost of sorts, or kind of like poetic rather, of having that one. So, again, I don't really know, but it would just be interesting to see where this would go. So that's pretty much where I'm gonna, you know, leave that. I'm just gonna leave that right there. I don't really know what else to say. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Moving on, though, we do have some other stuff I want to talk about. So one of those things is right here. This is also posted by Kuro over on Twitter, but all these people also made their own posts about it and kind of their own reactions, like, on Twitter. But I think this is actually a really interesting post. So basically what he's talking about here is, from his understanding, these are the Pokemon directors that have existed, right? If you look at this image below here, basically, I'm going to move my face cam up. So basically, the people you have down here is Tajiri, which is the first one. Now, Tajiri, for those of you guys who do not know, I'm going to open this image in a separate tab. Now, for those of you guys who do not know, Tajiri is, of course, the creator of Pokemon, Satoshi Tajiri. Now, he was the one who was the director of the first two generations. So, Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, right? Then Masuda has done pretty much Ruby Sapphire, Fire Red Leaf Green, Diamond Pearl, Black White, XY, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, apparently. I didn't know he did those, but alright. And then Morimoto is the person who did Emerald and Heart Gold Soul Silver. And then Kawachimaru did Pokemon Platinum. Uno did Black and White 2. Omori did Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon, as well as Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. And then, of course, Iwao did Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon and also Pokemon Legends Arceus. So that's pretty much the list. And this is the way that Kuro kind of describes them all, which is Tajiri, a childlike wonder, kind of like creating the original idea of it. Masuda, a sense of adventure, right? Which I would argue, yeah, that's pretty fair. I mean, Ruby Sapphire were great. Fire Red Leaf Green were actually great remakes at the time. Diamond Pearl have their issues. Black and White also had their issues, but a lot of people do love them for a reason. X and Y, that's where it falters for me. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, not bad games, but the motivation behind them was wrong. The motivation of, like, because literally what he said when he was talking about those games, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, was like, oh, everybody has like, phones, and everybody should have like, like everybody today uses phones instead, like people don't really play games like the way they used to. Everybody's on mobile now, so we want to have that experience. It's like it was taking too much of the Pokemon Go thing and forcing it into like the mainline games, which wasn't necessary. And then he also was involved, I guess, with BDSP, which I don't remember him directing it, but if he did, then I don't know what to say, man. Morimoto here is the complete version. So that's basically Emerald and Heart Gold Soul Silver, like making a complete version of an existing thing, right? Which basically Emerald and Heart Gold Soul Silver are, but I would say some of the other games like Platinum as well kind of serves the same way. Kawachimura, fixing games, so I guess fixing the issues of Diamond and Pearl. Then Uno was enhancing games, so enhancing Black and White into Black and White 2. Omori, mechanic galore, so basically adding in different sorts of mechanics, which is true. He does tend to try to add in as many little weird mechanics and stuff as possible, which he does do with like the deck snap, stuff like that. But then he also does remove other aspects, which is kind of the negative part. And then Iwao is difficulty expert, so adding in difficulty into the games. That's kind of the way he kind of looks at it. Masuda fell from grace, and Omori rushed everything. So that's pretty much like the way you look at it. And the two of them did the most. I feel like if this was spread out, if these games had been spread out between different directors and it wasn't all shoved onto Omori and Masuda, there would have been a better success rate in some of these games than, I mean, maybe not success rate in terms of sales, but a success rate in terms of satisfaction from an audience. Because there's only so many times you can screw over your audience before they get sick of it. And that's kind of where I fall on this. I don't really know what else to say about it, but it is a bit, strange. Now, that was one of the things. There is another thing I want to mention, though, which is that right now, Pokemon is in a weird place, okay? First of all, we have, like, different theories that, of course, are going around about, like, the previous stuff we've already had, the things that have already been revealed. But also, there's a lot of talks about Palworld. And I kind of have to talk about Palworld. It's kind of impossible not to. I have streamed it myself. I have played the game. And honestly, I have loved it, okay? Palworld right now, like, as of me recording this right now, has almost 900,000 people playing it right now on Steam. And it peaked at almost 1.3 million players in a 24-hour peak. Like, that is insane to think about. And I did that on Sunday. So, yeah, it's pretty nuts, man. The game is doing insanely well, okay? It's doing insanely well. I don't know if it's going to continue doing insanely well over time. The only thing that I feel like they need to do, and I know it's counterintuitive, but to keep this momentum, they would need to release more pals and add more to the game or add updates, which with the money they've had, because they've made, I think, just on the low end, over $105 million off of the release of this game. They've sold 4 million copies so far, which is insane. And that's just counting Steam. That's not even counting how many people have bought it on Xbox, or how many people rather have played it on Xbox Game Pass and stuff. Like, it's insane, okay? It is really insane, the numbers that this game is doing. It's done so well for itself, but there is a few issues that people have. And I'm going to make a whole video talking about how Palworld as a game has, like, basically, people feel like they've stolen assets from Pokemon and stuff like that. I have a few opinions that I have on that, which may differ from a lot of the Pokemon fans, where I don't always agree with everything that's being said right now. Like, yes, people are bitching about some of the stuff about this game, or not bitching. They have legitimate complaints, okay? But at the same time, Pokemon started as a franchise out. I'm just going to put it like this. Pokemon started as a franchise just copying Dragon Quest. This is something that I even mentioned back when Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee was coming out. I remember I did a video about it, and I talked about it. People were really pissed off at the time. We're like, no, that's not true, etc. But it was true, because Pokemon itself basically took a bunch of designs and stuff and just made their own versions of it. And I feel like the best thing for Palworld, what it can do going forward, is to, now that they have the money and funds, invest it into getting, like, actual people to make good new designs, and at least try not to rip off Pokemon, and try to make your own thing, right? Like, going forward. Because right now, you've got the interest, you've got the viewer base, you've got the player base, you've got enough people that are willing to play your products, and you've proven that you can compete with Nintendo and Pokemon. Like, you've proven that now. Now what you got to do is take all that knowledge and make something even better, okay? It's the only thing you can do. Go up from here, not down, okay? Because it's the best thing that you can possibly do. Because that's the thing. Palworld as a game, if we don't think about the designs of the monsters and then being ripoffs and stuff, the actual concept of the game is very different from Pokemon, okay? It's not turn-based. That's the number one. It is not a turn-based game. That's the first thing. It is also not a game that's, feels like Pokemon. Like, yes, you have basically a bunch of towers and bosses you take on, similar to gym leaders. There's that. That's kind of the main focus of the game. But then you also have stuff that just doesn't exist in Pokemon. Like, this is more a survival game. It's not an RPG necessarily, right? It doesn't have a lot of story going on. The story is very much lackluster. Not that Pokemon is much better, to be honest, but Pokemon has tried to do some more interesting stuff with its story or build like more things around it and lore and things like that, whereas Palworld just kind of didn't do any of that, which I get it. It's a survival game. It's more similar to something like Ark Survival Evolved or something along those lines than it is to, like, you know, to an actual Pokemon game. Like, it's very different products, is what I'm going to say. But I just thought I would mention it because Palworld is doing insane right now, which hopefully will inspire Pokemon as a company to maybe try to, like, you know, improve whatever next product they have online. Like, of course, it's not going to, like, listen, realistically, this is not going to affect anything about Pokemon for the next, like, 3 years, okay? After 3 years, that's when we might see some impact from Palworld. That's when we might see that Palworld caused some changes internally at Game Freak or the Pokemon Company, because Palworld is doing insane in Japan as well, by the way. That's one of those things that actually a lot of people miss, which is, keep in mind, Game Freak, Pokemon Company, Nintendo, they're all in Japan. They make a lot of their decisions based on also what the Japanese fan base wants. And the thing is, the Japanese fan base is huge for Palworld. Palworld is massive. I think even the developers of Palworld are Japanese. They're actually Japanese people. But nonetheless, though, it is an interesting situation. The game has made millions, okay? It's made so much money and is doing so well. It's still performing so well. Like, it dropped down yesterday to 775K, which, you know, like at night, literally at midnight. And then it bumped up again over the course of the night. And people keep playing it. Even right now, if I refresh it, there's still like 891,000 people playing it, right? So it's like the game's doing insanely well. And it keeps performing well. So the only question now is, what can Pokemon learn from this? What can Pokemon learn from this game to take into the future and make better Pokemon products and make better Pokemon games? Because right now, everybody is goofing on them. Like, if you go on Twitter and you find, like, literally any posts made by the Pokemon Company, people are just goofing on the Pokemon Company. But yeah, that's pretty much is what is, like, you know, the end of it. I don't really know what else to say. In terms of, by the way, like Fluttermane and like the event and stuff, I'm assuming these are 7 stars, but they could also be 6 stars. I don't really know what they're going to be, like, you know, what star-wise they're going to be. And I don't think there's actually a shiny increase on these guys. So, yeah, just thought I would bring that up here as well. But, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be making a whole video about my thoughts on Palworld and what I think it might do for Pokemon. But that's pretty much going to summarize my thoughts for now. So, yeah, I want to thank you guys all for watching. I'm going to be seeing you guys in the next one. So, peace out and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.